Nancy?
Yes.
Yes, you guys. Okay, awesome. All right. So, hello, everyone. Good evening to all of you. Thank you so much for being here. And thank you, Nancy, of course, for always making space for all of us to, make sure that we share these stories that we've been meaning to share with all of you and to continue to have and create this sisterhood through our computers now that we are socially distancing and, of course, staying at home. And thank you to Julissa as well. I'm a huge fan of everything she does. She's a really good friend, and I love that she's not only really working to change the dynamic that happens in her field as an entrepreneur, as a woman leader, but of course she's always available and willing to give back, to talk to people, to talk to students. So, Julie, thank you so much for taking the space. How are you doing? How's everything?
Good, good. I'm happy to be here. It's so nice actually seeing some faces. Like I feel like we're really in front of each other, even though this is virtual. So it's nice being here and seeing y'all today.
I know, likewise. It's like such a weird space we're in, and I feel like it's also just like a reflection of one, obviously, what's going to be happening in the next few months, and just like the future, right? Like everything's
Yeah.
going to be done virtually and with technology. So for us to get started, we would love for you to share with all of us a little bit about you, your upbringing, your background, and what it is that we see you on social media. We follow everything you do. We're
Yeah.
big fans of what you're doing with Rizos Curls, but just like that elevator pitch, like tell us
Yeah.
who Julissa Prado is.
Yes. So I'm born and raised in LA, and I have a huge family. My dad there's 13 brothers and sisters, and then on my mom's side there's 11 of them. I'm first generation. Like I have that whole first generation story of my dad coming here when he was like 15, crawled through the sewers, worked in the field picking oranges as his first job, and moved up from there. Um, but I pretty much just grew up with such a really strong family bond and dynamic. All of my cousins have always been my best friends. So when I started the business, they're the ones that till this day help me. The drawing on my bottle, that's my cousin Vanessa that drew it. My brother is still my partner, like doing my right hand person. My cousins help me with fulfillment. There's just on so many aspects of my business, I've brought my family with me because it's such an important part. And Rizos Curls in general, it's curls community culture, and the three parts are so important to me. I always say like it's not just about curls; it's about doing what's right for my community and bringing my culture everywhere that I go. So that's kind of my little pitch. It's been about 3 years now that I've launched the business. I launched it in 2017. At the time, I was working full time for Nestle. Prior to that, I was super just like LA girl that was living here my whole life. I went to UCLA for undergrad, and then I got my master's in business from Wake Forest in North Carolina, and then went straight to while in grad school, I was interning for PepsiCo, and then I went to work for Nestle. The headquarters were in Glendale. So yeah, that's kind of like my situation. I was between when I first launched the business, I was doing both at the same time, and I tried to do both as long as possible. But then I decided to just focus full time on Rizos, and I've been working full time with Rizos ever since. This past January, we just launched into Target stores. That's been our first large retailer, and we're sold in over 57 countries. And I've been able to do this as a completely self-funded business. Started out with zero marketing dollars and with the help of my family.
I know. I love that you share, everything about family, because I think a lot of us, we can definitely relate to that kind of not only bringing your family along, but like also how do you still represent your culture? How do you still stay connected to who you are and your roots? And I'm a big fan of your family. I'm always following everything that you guys do,
Or like our
voting
running
for who
challenge the
does
other day. Did you see
your
our battle?
running challenge, your grito challenge, your banda, everything. I'm like, this family is so talented. And I think I love to see that too, because a lot of us can relate to it, right? Like we have family members that are so much like this, and this like immigrant story that you
Yeah.
share.
When we went
You know,
viral, did you guys see that? The
and you guys went viral.
banda.
Yeah. Which was great. If you guys haven't seen that video of like their family doing a banda song, you
Playing
guys
the
have to see
instruments
it.
with
It
like the
is,
shoe and the
yes. And the tuba with the little kid, genius. Genius. And you know, I think that's just so like original, right? Like that's why it becomes so that we admire it. We it makes so many feelings in us kind of come about, because it also it's like melancholia about our families and about our upbringings and things we've been through. And in terms of like, you know, you in 3 years, Julissa, you've managed to build a company from like as a startup by yourself. What have been like the hurdles? What have been
yeah.
those kind of learning, like those big lessons in your life in the past 3 years with your business as an entrepreneur?
I think one of the biggest lessons that starting my own business has taught me is that my biggest obstacle was myself. Like, I think that a lot of the times, so many things that keep us from doing something is literally a fear that we create ourselves. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, oh, what if I run out of money? What if I don't do this right? What if this? What are people going to say? What if there's all these what ifs that we create in our head? What if I'm not smart enough? What if I don't know what to do? And I think that for me, I always tell people, I'm like, your weakness is also your strength. So whenever
Mm.
people ask me, like, what are your weaknesses? I'm like, the same things that are my strength are my weaknesses, because that's
Yeah.
it's always the same. So for me, my weakness is that like I'm really simple minded. Like I'm so simple. Like sometimes I don't think things through too much to the whole big, the whole end. Sometimes I'm just like, I'm so like in a little bubble of like, oh, this is so great, I'm just gonna do this, and I oversimplify things. But it's also
Mm.
my strength, because
Right.
by me oversimplifying something that was really complicated, it allowed me to not see all those fear scary path to get there, and just kind of
Right.
start and do it. So I think for me, being able to oversimplify something that has been really complicated and just take it one step at a time, and literally not even look too far, like make this long, really hard, difficult goal into cut it down into really small attainable
Mm.
goals. I feel
Yeah.
like that's what's been one of the ways I've been able to overcome these obstacles.
That's awesome. I love that you share that, because we tend to see our weaknesses or the places where we need to grow or the places where we need a little bit of fine tuning as, yeah, as like things that we can improve, but they also become that big part in the big chunk of who we are. And what can we learn from that, right? Where can we
Exactly.
really nail in there and heal from and ground ourselves with?
Yeah.
So, you know, making sure that whatever are those qualities are in us, that we make them into something much more abundant. So, you know,
Exactly.
you launched Rizos Curls at Target at the beginning of
Yeah.
the year. It was a beautiful announcement, because I think as a community on social media, everybody was just so happy, so proud of you. Did you ever want this? Did you ever think of this? Like, I want my product that represents me and my community in this very niche community, right?
Yeah.
I want this product to that to go mainstream on that scale, like at a Target store. And I mean, 3 years, that's like you people have products for ages, for decades before like a big company like Target notices them. What do
Yeah.
you think it was that you had that caught the eye of a big company like Target?
Yeah. So I think it's crazy because I tell people this all the time. I feel like once I started living in my purpose, doors that weren't there started opening. It was almost like the universe started conspiring to help me get there. And it's so crazy to me again, because that literally didn't happen for me until I quit Nestle. Like it's like
Mm.
it felt like I had all these hurdles, like my entire life, like just so many little things like that whenever I was diverging from my path that I feel like fate and I was meant to do, things were a little bit harder. Things were hard. I'm like, why is it so hard? But as soon as I started living in my purpose, as soon as I made that step and invested in myself and like, I'm going to focus my full energy on this, it was like doors just started opening. It's almost like things started making sense. Like the road that I was supposed to go, it was almost like it was like lighting up for me to get there. And and something that I realized is like I've been living my path, and I've known what I want my whole life without even realizing it was right in front of me. It's like my passion and what I'm supposed to do had been hitting me in the face my entire life. And I never just opened my eyes and looked at it. Instead, I was like, I want to be a lawyer. I want to be a politician. I want to be, I want to work for Nestle. I want to be this huge, but I never looked at the thing that I was doing as like my passion, as my side hobby. I never thought this could be my business. And one of the examples is when I was growing up, like I remember seeing how at Target stores, I remember when they first added their first textured hair care in there in general. Like I remember when they invested in a lot of these black founders that, like the Shea Moisture and the Carol's Daughters of the world. That I remember when they added their products for the very first time. Like I remember when they made that aisle, that section a little bit larger. I remember when they made it a whole thing and it had its own little thing. And I remember when they made the bios. Like I saw that transition. And I remember seeing the bios. And back then, so for my story is like in high school, I started creating my own formulas because I would see everybody around me like, I grew up in predominant Latino neighborhoods. And back then when I was little, I lived in Mid City, and it was like everybody had naturally wavy, curly, like they had some kind of texture to their hair, but everybody straightened it. And especially my family. And a lot of it was because there weren't products that were good for our hair, and like we didn't really understand how to care for our hair. So I started making my own concoctions with my grandmother's learnings. Like I was very used to always turning to the earth to create my own stuff from her. So I was like literally making my own little formulas forever, but that's just how I would do it to do my hair, and then I would do my friends' hair and my cousins' hairs, and everybody's hair around me. And I did that throughout high school and college. So I remember when I still didn't think that was like the business I was supposed to do. And I remember when I saw the founder bios at Target when they first got added. I remember taking a picture and I stick figure drew myself on there. And I don't even know why I did it. I just remember doing that. And I remember writing the little like bio in Spanish too. And I just remember like that moment that I'll never forget of like always wanting to go to that section. And that's part of why I wanted Target to be my first retailer. And not only that, but we were contacted by other retailers too, like especially after we were at BeautyCon. So my booth at BeautyCon was right between Target and Sally's Beauty. So we had a really good location, and all these buyers were coming to us. Sally's was coming to us, like even a Walmart buyer was there. Like we were getting a lot of attention, especially that day. And others did approach us, and I legit in one of the meetings, like I was like, I'm not selling my soul to the devil. Like that's part of why I like being self-funded, is because it's so much deeper for me than just money. It's so much deeper for me than, oh, this opportunity seems good. Oh, like this company wants to work with me. Oh, they want to carry a product. Like, no, bro, you can't just throw money at me if you're being disrespectful. And I feel like you don't get what me and my community is about. So for me, like I would be in these meetings, and sometimes I would hear people, like I would hear them straight out be like, oh, that target demographic is so price sensitive. We know that, they're more of like the couponers, and like just saying all these things that pretty much alluded that Latinos were like poor, that we didn't care about quality, or saying like, or they would want me to create another version of my product with low quality ingredients and more chemicals, because that consumer doesn't care about that and they prioritize discount or lower pricing. And I'm just like, you don't know us. Like you clearly don't know us. There's nothing more organic than our people. Are you kidding me? Like so many of them like grew up like cosechando like everything that they ate. Like how are you gonna tell us we're not organic and we prefer chemicals? Like you don't know us, and I don't want to work with you. if you don't know me and you don't value my knowledge and what I'm
Your
bringing.
respect.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So for me, it was really important that that retailer aligned with my vision and it didn't feel like blood money. So that's why I chose Target, because I feel like they understood that culture and community piece the most out of the other retailers that I
Yeah.
met with.
That's awesome. I mean, it's awesome in terms of like the story, right? Like how it all happened. Like I love to hear about like BeautyCon and how they were able to see a brand like yours that was really directly connected to the consumer and affecting the consumer every day. You know, we have a few questions from some of the girls today. And the first one is from Melissa Castillo. And she asked, when did you learn to embrace your curls?
Yeah, so I learned to embrace my curls in high school, and it was around that time when I was kind of like searching for something to work in my hair. And one of the main reasons too was because I was really lucky that in high school, and when I was in this, like, I had these teachers that taught me about we had a whole like race theory, like kind of college style race theory curriculum for one of our sections, where we learned about like internalized depression, and we learned about like all these like European standards of beauty that made us kind of believe that these things were more beautiful than what we looked like naturally. So I feel like I became more woke in high school, and just kind of like started peeping like, why do I keep trying to look more European? And it just made me like think about all of these things, and it made me want to just like really embrace myself naturally. And for me, learning to, oh my god, all these, and for me learning to love myself, I'm learning to love my natural hair was the first step toward learning to love myself. And it was like me coming to terms and learning to love my hair was more of like a process of just learning to love me. And yeah, like every kid, you know, everyone has like insecurities, everyone has their own things that they're going through. And for me, I just wanted to learn to just love the skin that I'm in. And I thought for me, my hair was the first step.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful thing. I think it's like a journey that a lot of us have with different aspects of ourselves. You know, our hair, our skin color, you know, all of these things are preconceived notions that society has been imposed on us since we were little. And then you add there like our culture, you know, and it becomes like these cultural norms that we see nowadays with like just a lot of these young girls growing up with all these, you know, just like the insecurities and los complejos that we all have. I mean, as women, as even as women that are older and that we've found kind of like our identity, it's still like such a struggle. So I can only imagine for a young girl like you being in that environment. And something that we can all relate to. Another one of the questions we have is, where was it? Was there any advice that was given to you at the start of your career that you still find helpful today?
So one of an advice I feel like that I have for everybody, that I learned from going to business school and like working for Nestle and stuff is, let me exit out this chat. Like, why do you guys I don't understand what's happening. Anyway, sorry guys. Oh my God. Sorry. So pretty much one of the advices that I got was understanding who your target consumer is, like who you're serving. So the larger your target demographic is, the more marketing money you're going to need, right? So no matter what it is that you're doing, whether it's a service, a business, whether you're trying to open up an Instagram page, start a podcast, start whatever it is that you're doing, it's so important to really understand who you're doing it for, who you're serving, and almost know that person and have that person in your head as if they're a real human being that's in front of you. Like, what other pages do they follow? What motivates them? Where do they come from? What do they look like? What are their favorite places to shop at? Whatever. And then every decision that you make after that, you don't leave that person out. You make it with the best interest of that very specific person. And I feel like that has helped me so much, because there's been so many decisions that I've made where I've literally gotten my piece of paper out, where I drew that girl that I was making these products for. And I said, would she like that? Would she like me to do this? And if it's a no, I was like, nope, I'm getting distracted from my mission.
Right. That's beautiful. Like always staying true to that vision, right? That you had. And like I love that, when they tell us, right, missions, visions when we start off a business or an idea. But just even looking back at like a picture, it's funny that you say that, because even me through like television, like I have 3 cameras at work, right? Like what's 1, 2, 3. And each camera to me is like my mom, my friend, and like someone, and like like thinking of someone like on social media, someone that like follows me that is a friend of mine through social media.
Yeah.
And it's like that's how I correlate how I talk to people and how I want people to address these people. Like how would I want someone to give the news to my mom, give the news to my friend, give the news to someone that I care about, that
Yeah.
is someone that follows me. So that's how kind of I remind myself to stay true to the base of who I am and why I started doing what I do and why I enjoy it still. Someone asked a question right now. I don't know if they want to unmute themselves and like ask the question to Julie themselves.
Yes, that
Julissa
would be
Romero, I
great.
know.
Don't be
I know
shy.
she asked a question. Don't be shy. And then collision also ask a question. So if I don't know if you guys want to unmute yourselves and ask it yourselves.
Yeah, I just had a question on business school. I know you mentioned you went to business school, so I was just kind of wondering, was it worth it to your company? Because like I've been looking at graduate schools as well, and like they're so expensive, and I know the loans and also like financially it doesn't really help. So I guess like, do you recommend it for someone who is looking to start their own business?
Yeah. By the way, I love your name, Julissa. So okay, that's a really good question, because I was on the same boat when I was deciding where to go. And for me, what I will recommend from my own research when I was in that situation is, on the West Coast, it's literally almost impossible to get school paid for, graduate school. It is so hard. So that's why I went all the way to North Carolina to Wake Forest, because I was able to get a full ride. Like there's so many, because the fellow, so I did a fellowship, and it was for Black and brown students. It was like a minority fellowship through PepsiCo sponsored that specific fellowship. But like especially in the South, like pretty much any state, all those states that like no one really wants to go to, legit, there's so many opportunities for you to go to school for free, because who wants to live in Winston-Salem, North Carolina? You know what I mean? No offense to Winston-Salem, North Carolina. I'm just saying, like, there was no diversity. There was like 2 Latino kids in the entire program. I was one of them. It's just like, it's hard. So I made the decision to do it because I was able to find a situation that pretty much I was going to school for completely free. So that's why I did it. And there's also, so for me, like, I weighed the pros and the cons, and I was like, bro, like, if I can go for free, I have so much to gain. Because so I don't have people, like, my parents never, went to school. I didn't know anybody who had a master's. Like, I was the first person in my family to get one. I didn't know anybody started, like, I feel like I was wanted to enter into a space in a network where I didn't have that network. Like, when people ask me, like, who are your mentors? Who's this? And I'm like, bro, I've been my own mentor. I didn't know anybody. I'm already the person, like, in my own little world where I live, is like, I didn't know anybody that was in those situations, So I felt like I needed that network. I needed to know this. I need to learn statistics, accounting, quantitative analytics. I needed to learn all of these things that nobody I had any connection with knew. So that's why I did it. But if people are self-taught, some people are self-taught on like YouTube and all these other places, you can do that, great. But for me, like, I needed that, and I found ways to get it for free. Also, a lot of companies, if you work for a company, a lot of the time they'll pay for you to get a graduate degree, depending on what company you work for. So
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Julissa, for that. Just
yeah. Last one too. Oh, you're muted. Oh, you just click on your speaker on the corner. Did it work? No? Okay, we'll just read it out. Let me see. I think she asked, how or what made you so sure that this business would work for you, that you could bring this to life? So I didn't. And so that's part of the fear aspect that I mentioned, in that it's so risky, you know what I mean? Because I literally started saving for a business, or for this, I don't know, like I started saving for something. Originally I was like, oh, maybe a house, maybe this. I started saving since I was like 15. I've been saving forever. And it was a huge risk for me to decide to do this. And I remember before I started the business, my parents were like, compra una casa. Like, ¿cómo que vas a, gastar tanto dinero and, this other thing that's unrisky? And I was like, should I put a down payment like on a house or something like that, or whatever? And it was a huge risk for me to take. And it was really scary. So you don't, but you have to trust your instinct. You have to trust your intuition. I think one of the most important things and recommendations I can give you is to be one with yourself. I know it sounds so cliche and so dumb, but you need to like sit with yourself alone, with your thoughts. Like, talk to yourself at night when you wake up, and see how you feel, see what your own heart and your stomach and the world is telling you. And if it's telling you like, no, don't buy that house, don't spend this, if it's telling you like, go do something, blur all the fear, all the negative, anything around it, and just focus on that one thing that you want. And that's the only thing that you see, and don't let anything else distract you. But once you make that decision, just go forward and don't let fear stop you. But you just have to learn to trust your intuition, because honestly, I cannot stress this. Some of the best business decisions that I have made have legit had, there's no logic behind it. It actually on paper seems like the worst business decision, but it was my stomach, my intuition, my heart that told me to do it. There's so many times, like with my brother, for example, like I'm like, we have to do this. And he's like, why? And I'm like, I just feel it in my heart. Like, we have to go forward with this. I know it sounds stupid. I know it sounds like it's a waste of money, but like, we need to do this. And it always ends up being the right decision.
Awesome. I think we're going to finish it with that note. I don't know if anybody else has a question and that wants to ask. Ask away.
I love that part of her saying, listen to your gut.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the times we do have that and we just don't listen to it. We want to be like, no, maybe that's too risky. I see a lot of people shaking their heads like, yes.
And the universe talks to you. Like, I know this is going to sound dumb and cliche, but like, y'all, the universe talks to you. Like, there's so much power in energy, and like being in tune with what's in your mind, what's in your heart, and with the energies around you. Like, it speaks to you, and you just have to be good with this. You have to be good with yourself, and it will tell you what to do. You have the answer. It's all inside of you. You just have to listen.
Thank you so much for joining us. That is beautiful. We're getting, just before we end this chat, I do want everybody to be able to participate in our ELLAS giveaway. So if you guys can write one key takeaway from today, from all the gems that Julissa Prado just dropped in these beautiful 30 minutes that we were together in this space, just put it in the chat. I'll stick around to just read through them, and then I will be contacting you directly if you are the lucky winner. So just one key takeaway that stuck with you, that you will take with you and write down in a journal or somewhere to keep you inspired and motivated. Thank you so much, Julissa Prado, for taking, I like that. Competency Collision said, I need to share this with you, Julissa, before you leave. Her passion and her voice. # Latina.
I be talking, y'all.
Thank you so much for joining us and for, joining us in the space and sharing your experience and your empowering story with each and every one of us.
No, thank you, ladies. And honestly, y'all just choosing to take the time to be here today is just so telling in how you're investing in yourselves, investing in trying to seek out that motivation or whatever it is that you're looking for. So I really wish y'all the best, and I really hope that whatever you're looking for, you find it, and that it finds you as well.
Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank
Kisses.
you.
Yeah.
Okay, bye.
Thank you. I'm going to stick around for people that are writing stuff on the chat. You guys can hang up if you guys want. Peace.
Bye, ladies.
Bye.